If it weren't for my mom's retirement money, we wouldn't even need to be here. She should be grateful there are still people in this house, or she'd just be old and alone. I never imagined I'd hear something so cutting from my own son, the boy I once rocked in my arms and taught how to ride a bike. But that's exactly how the most humiliating night of my life began. It was early autumn in Austin, Texas. The leaves were starting to fall, and the smell of cornbread baking blended with the familiar scent of my home, or at least what was left of it. Lately, almost everything here seemed out of place. My name is Marion Wallace. I'm 68 years old and a widow since I was 54. I spent my life teaching cooking at the neighborhood public school, baking pies for church bazaars, volunteering at senior homes, the kind of woman everyone assumes will always be there until the family needs a roof over their head. After his divorce, Travis, my only son, moved back in. He lost his job, the bank took his house, and his marriage with Amanda finally collapsed. He brought his 2 kids, Jacob, 15, and Lily, 13. "It's just for a few months, Mom. I promise I'll get back on my feet soon," he said at the door, dragging in his suitcases and the heavy weight of failure. At first, my mother's heart shouted louder than any sense of self-preservation. I made coffee, prepared the guest room, bought the cereal my grandkids liked. Lily clung to me, just like before, when she'd spend weekends here. But Jacob wasn't that sweet boy anymore. Now he looked at me like I was some old piece of furniture just taking up space. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. Travis barely left the couch, spending hours on supposedly important phone calls, but never bringing back any good news. Jacob started inviting friends over to play video games loudly through the night, eating straight from the pots, leaving trash all over the living room. Lily locked herself in her room, listening to sad music and writing in diaries she wouldn't let me read. By the end of the month, the electricity bill skyrocketed. The grocery store felt like a black hole. I started to feel embarrassed opening my own fridge. Everything was gone before Sunday. I tried to talk, but Travis dodged every conversation. "Mom, relax. I'll find something soon. Stop worrying so much. The house is big." One night, after an exhausting day, I sat alone in the kitchen, looking at the hands that once kneaded bread for birthday parties, but now shook as I swiped my bank card. I heard muffled laughter from the living room. I approached slowly, trying to understand what was so funny. I heard Travis speaking loudly, unaware I was there. "If it weren't for my mom's retirement money, we wouldn't even need to be here. She should be grateful there are still people in this house, or she'd just be old and alone." Jacob burst out laughing, imitating my slow walk. "Yeah, Grandma, don't forget to pay for the Wi-Fi, or it'll be prehistoric times in here." I froze. The shame hit me like a punch to the stomach. I went back to the kitchen without making a sound. I looked down at my cup of tea and didn't even recognize the taste. That's when I realized my house was no longer mine, and that the nice Marion, the one who never said no, was dying a little more every time she allowed herself to be treated like dead weight. I finished my cold tea and almost by instinct called Mrs. Brooks. I couldn't say a word. I just cried softly while she said on the other end, "You're not alone, Marion. And you weren't born to be anyone's doormat." That night, for the first time, I went to sleep angry. At them, but mostly at myself. If you've ever lived through something like this, or know someone who has, share in the comments. And if you want to hear even more powerful stories without ads and connect with other women with similar experiences, join the VIP group using the link in the pinned comment. The next day dawned gray, but the house felt even darker. I dragged myself to the kitchen and found Travis hunched over the table, paperwork scattered everywhere, bills overdue, bills I'd never even seen before. "Mom, we need to talk," he said, already with the tone of someone demanding, not asking. Jacob walked in, munching cereal straight from the box, looked me up and down, and threw his backpack on the floor. "Where's the Wi-Fi? It's slow again." Travis didn't even blink. "It's hard to keep up with everything, Mom. You know how things are out there. And honestly, that old car of yours is just taking up space in the garage." Right then, I knew what was coming. "My car? Travis, that blue Ford was the last present your father gave me before he died. I took it to the hospital to see you born. I know it's old, but..." "Exactly, Mom. It's just a car." Travis slapped the table, impatient. "You don't need it now. You don't drive anymore. If you sell it, it'll help with the bills. Do it for us, will you?" Jacob laughed. What do you need a car for, Grandma? Gonna go out to bingo? My face burned with shame and humiliation. That car was my last memory of freedom, of a life that didn't revolve around them. I looked at Lily, hoping for a supportive glance, but she shrank into the corner, eyes glued to her phone. Look, Mom, Travis pressed on. Think of it practically. Tomorrow I can take the car to Mike to have it appraised. He'll give a good price. I didn't answer. I just slipped my hand into my apron pocket, feeling the cold key as if it could protect me. But Travis was already getting up, ending the conversation like someone giving an order. After you sell the car, we can make some improvements to the house too, Mom. We can't live like this anymore. And stop buying all this healthy food. The people here want pizza, soda, that kind of thing. If you want to save money, start there. Jacob laughed loudly. Yeah, Grandma. Enough with the kale and your old people habits. Buy food for normal people. In that instant, my house truly became a foreign land. Every corner that once carried my scent, my touch, my things and memories, was now overrun by voices, laughter, and demands that weren't mine. The embroidered sign I hung in the kitchen that said "Family is home" now seemed to mock me. I silently wondered when I stopped being the owner of myself and became just a nuisance who had to ask permission just to exist. A dull anger grew inside me, but it was muffled by fear. Fear of losing even the little I had left, fear of becoming invisible even to myself. I sat slowly in the rocking chair on the porch, the same chair where years ago I rocked Travis to sleep and dreamed of better days. Now, he dreamed of what was mine, but treated me like a burden to be removed. The rest of the day dragged on. I heard Travis on the phone negotiating with Mike, discussing prices as if I had already agreed. Lily stayed locked in her room. Jacob played video games all afternoon in the living room, laughing loudly with friends on his headset, forgetting I even existed. At dusk, I went to the backyard and found the blue Ford. I ran my hand along the hood, feeling the rough paint, the marks of time. Every scratch, a memory. A trip to the lake, Christmas shopping, the last drive with my husband before he got sick. It wasn't just a car. It was my last link to who I had been. I cried there, quietly, because no one would hear. And in those tears, I realized they would never understand what that car meant to me. To Travis, it was just junk. To me, it was living proof that once, someone put me first. At dinner, no one showed up. Each person grabbed their food and vanished to a different corner of the house. I sat alone at a table set for 4, eating slowly, chewing back tears. The silence was heavy, heavy with all the things left unsaid. That night, as I hid the car key under my pillow, I promised myself, if I ever had to give up what was mine, it would be because I decided, not because they forced me. And it was there, alone on the porch, that I realized those who don't stand up for themselves disappear. I wasn't ready to disappear yet. The next morning, I woke to the sound of loud laughter. Travis had invited over some old friends. Just to unwind, he said. He didn't ask me. The house smelled of burnt bacon, beer, and cheap cologne. Jacob had already taken over the living room with a borrowed video game, and Lily didn't even look at me as I walked by. "Hey, Grandma! Bring us some snacks over here," Jacob yelled, eyes glued to the screen. I pretended not to hear. I went to get my coffee, but I couldn't even do that in peace. Travis and 2 friends were in the kitchen, popping open cans, leaving crumbs everywhere. "Mom, could you keep it down? We're trying to go over the bills," he said sarcastically, while one of his friends whispered and laughed about my old cotton dress. "This habit of yours, waking up early." I sat alone in the corner of the backyard, next to the bed of violets I planted back when I still believed this would be my safe harbor. The voices in the house, which once sounded like music to me, became just noise. Even my garden felt less like mine. At lunchtime, I tried to gather everyone at the table, like I always had. Travis ignored me. The plates were disposable. The menu, frozen pizza and soda, nothing like my traditional Sunday stew. "Mom, nobody eats that stuff anymore." Travis laughed, handing out slices of pizza. "Time to get with the times." Jacob burst out laughing. "Way better than Grandma's slop. Am I right, guys?" I stood there, holding my empty plate, my fingers trembling. Lily whispered something to Jacob, and he let out another laugh. Neither looked me in the eye. Not even Travis. Right there, at my own table, I was treated as if I were invisible. The afternoon dragged on, and the house turned into a party hall for noisy teenagers. My TV remote disappeared. The bath towels I once kept folded in the closet were gone without a trace. I heard neighbors whispering outside, cars lined up, loud music, voices. I felt the weight of shame, as if every glance from the neighborhood knew my house was no longer my own. If you've ever been disrespected by someone you love, comment here. And don't forget, like and share, so more people hear that no one deserves to go through this in silence. That night, I entered my room and realized that even there, I was a guest. Jacob had left clothes all over the floor. The smell of sweaty sneakers hung in the air. Lily was using my lamp for selfies. My picture frame was turned to face the wall. Before bed, I heard Travis on the phone in the kitchen. Man, my mom's got so many quirks. If it weren't for her retirement, I wouldn't even have to stay here. But it's temporary. Don't worry. The old lady will get used to it. I cried quietly, in a way I hadn't since my husband died. But there, in the middle of that night, something inside me cracked, and it was the beginning of a silent courage. I woke up Sunday to the smell of cigarette smoke coming from the hallway. Through the crack in the door, I saw Travis and Jacob taking apart my old wardrobe, the same one where I'd stored family photo albums and my wedding quilt for decades. They didn't ask. They just decided. I heard my son say, laughing, "This thing just takes up space. Let's put it outside. Mom won't even notice." When I tried to protest, Travis looked at me like I was a stubborn child. "Mom, the house needs space. You've got too much junk. Let it go." Jacob just rolled his eyes, not an ounce of respect. I felt the ground disappear beneath my feet. My memories were nothing but junk to them. Sunday, once sacred, had become a day for their changes, not mine. Lily was locked in her room with headphones, Travis rearranging the furniture, Jacob cursing at the Wi-Fi, music blasting, neighbors huffing on the other side of the fence. No one asked if I wanted any of it. In the afternoon, the last straw. Coming back from the store, I saw a note taped to the door of my own bedroom. "Do not disturb. Game in progress." My bedroom was now theirs. I found my clothes dumped over the washing machine, shoes in the trash bin, and a note scribbled by Jacob. "Grandma, find somewhere else. This spot's taken." I tried to protest. "Travis, this is absurd. Where am I supposed to sleep?" He didn't even look up from his phone. "In the storage room, Mom. It's just for a while until we sort things out." "This isn't fair." "Nothing in life is, Mom. You always said that, remember?" The storage room was cold, smelling of mildew. I sat there on an improvised mattress, surrounded by Christmas boxes, a forgotten wedding album, the teddy bear from Travis's childhood now trampled under a toolbox. The creaking of the door was the sound of my humiliation. I ate dinner alone. Again. I wondered where those Sundays of stew, laughter, and old music had gone. When did I become a guest, a shadow, a leftover? The night turned cold. From under the door, I heard Jacob mock, "Grandma, if you want to go to bed early, find an old folks' home." Those words cut deep, but in that loneliness a new feeling was growing. I would no longer accept being a guest in my own home. That night, inside the storage room, I didn't sleep. I planned. Those who only survive end up disappearing. I was going to exist again, whatever it took. The next morning, before the sun even lit up the windows, I was already up, my body tired, but my mind erupting. The storage room was far too small for my indignation. Every box around me felt like a tomb for my memories. The wool blanket I knitted when I was pregnant, family photos of everyone smiling, letters that were never sent, all jumbled together, forgotten, just like me. Breakfast was silent, but only for me. Travis and Jacob talked loudly about football and bills, laughing at jokes I didn't understand anymore. Lily, as always, disappeared into her phone. When I tried to make myself some porridge, I found the pot still dirty from last night's pizza, the smell rancid, the sink overflowing. "Good morning," I tried, hoping for a thread of normalcy. Jacob didn't even respond. Travis grumbled something about the dishes. I sat alone at the table, listening to my own thoughts, and it felt like they were screaming, "Enough." I remembered my husband's voice years ago. "If you don't speak up, Marion, life will swallow you whole." I never thought my life would become being ignored in my own home. I finished my coffee standing up, watching out the window as my neighbor Linda walked her dog. I was overcome by an urge to leave, to breathe. I grabbed my old coat, slung my purse over my arm, and announced, I'm going out for a walk. Don't wait for me for lunch. Travis just brushed it off. Going where, Mom, in this cold? Don't start acting up. I pretended not to hear. I walked through the backyard, out the gate, into the neighborhood. I wandered the familiar streets with a new feeling. For the first time in weeks, no one was telling me what to do. The cold wind stung my face, but it was the kind of pain that brought relief. On that walk, I decided to look for Grace, my old friend, now the owner of a small bookshop cafe near the main square. I hadn't seen her in almost 2 years, since my husband's funeral. I went in timidly, but the smell of fresh coffee and the sound of laughter wrapped around me in a way my own home no longer did. Grace smiled wide. "Marion, I thought you'd disappeared. Come, sit with me." I broke down right there, in front of shelves packed with books. I told her everything. The humiliation, the storage room, the car being sold, the indifferent grandkids. Grace didn't cry for me or sugarcoat anything. She just listened. "Marion, nobody is born to be a shadow. If they don't see you, you'll have to light your own way," she said, squeezing my hand. For the first time in a long while, I heard my name spoken with affection. And there, in that cafe, I found not only a friend, but the beginning of a silent rebellion. Before I left, Grace whispered, "You're not alone, and you don't have to accept less than you deserve." I went back home with my chest held high. At the gate, I saw Travis complaining about the plumbing, Jacob kicking a ball inside, Lily still locked away. I felt sorry for them, trapped in their own smallness. That night, after days of staying silent, I finally raised my voice. I waited for Travis to finish complaining and went straight to the point. From now on, my house has rules again, and the first one is respect. Jacob laughed out loud. Travis huffed. Lily just ignored me. But for the first time, I didn't back down. The next morning, I woke up before everyone else. The smell of fresh coffee filled the kitchen, along with the sound of my hands clattering pans. It wasn't just breakfast. It was a sign of reclaiming my territory. My steps were firm, as if letting the house know that Marion was coming back to life. When Travis walked in, he found the table set, the bills sorted, and me in an apron, but standing tall like a sentry. "Good morning, Mom." His voice held a hint of doubt, as if he sensed something was different. "Sit down, Travis. I need to talk." Jacob and Lily showed up later, drawn more by the smell of waffles than by any desire to listen to me. I waited for everyone to sit, or rather, to take over the table like they owned it, and then I started. "This is my house. I've always wanted to help you, but from now on, some things are changing. Basic rules. Everyone cleans up after themselves, and we all help with the bills. No more parties without my permission. And, Travis, you don't touch my things without asking me first." He laughed, dismissive. "What's with the attitude, Mom?" "Relax. It's not that serious." Jacob rolled his eyes, ready to make a joke, but I was determined. "Jacob, I'm going to ask you something. If you can't respect that, you can find another couch to play your video games on." Silence fell, heavy. For the first time in weeks, they were actually listening to me, not by choice, but because they had to. Travis huffed, pretending not to care. "Fine. If that makes you happy. It's not just about me. It's about respect, and I deserve it." I looked him straight in the eyes, unblinking. At that moment, I saw something different in Lily's eyes, maybe a glimmer of the sweet granddaughter she used to be. I left everyone at the table and went to water the violets in the backyard. My heart was pounding, fear and satisfaction mixed together, as if with every word I swept away another layer of old dust from the house. If you've ever had to find the courage to change the rules of your life, comment here. I know it's not easy, but sometimes we just need a little push. At night, the tension lingered. Travis went out to smoke in the backyard. Jacob locked himself in his room. Lily avoided the living room. But the house was no longer just theirs. On my phone, I saw messages from Grace. "You were brave. Don't back down." I caught myself smiling. Maybe, just maybe, I was about to learn how to be happy again. If you've made it this far, subscribe to the channel for more stories like this, because what's about to happen with this family will surprise a lot of people. And that night, between doubts and smiles, I knew either I reinvented myself or I'd be lost forever. That week, my house turned into a battleground. The rules, which used to be theirs, were now under my command, but that only made tempers flare even more. Travis became grumpy, spending his days on the phone, complaining to friends about the hell it is living with my mom. Jacob, used to doing whatever he wanted, didn't like having chores. Not one bit. He started hiding dirty dishes, throwing clothes on the floor on purpose, a silent challenge. And Lily? She vanished into her room, only coming out to grab food. Still, I stood my ground. I moved my armchair back into place. I took back my remote. I started making my own meals, my own tea. I could smell my home blending with their rebellion, and I realized this wouldn't be easy. On a rainy Friday, Travis snapped. He came back from the store, bags thrown on the floor, face red with anger. "Mom, enough? Do you really think you can run everything here? Look at you. The only reason you even have this house is because Dad died and left you his pension. Do you know why we're here? Because you're supposed to help your family, that's your duty. And if you won't, we'll figure something else out." His voice echoed through the living room. Jacob appeared in the hallway, grinning. "Say it, Dad. That's all she's good for." I felt a wave of heat climb up my neck, my eyes burning. For a moment I thought I might scream, but my voice came out steady, almost cold. "Travis, this house is my last piece of dignity. I'm not giving that up too. You need to understand that time passes for everyone, and respect can't be bought or forced." The rain drummed against the windows. The silence grew thick. Travis left, slamming the door. Jacob followed him. Lily cried softly in her room. That night, I sat on my bed and cried too. But for the first time, it wasn't out of weakness. It was because I understood that to change, I had to face the worst. If this story has reminded you of someone, share and comment. It's not easy, but no one deserves to be disrespected in their own home. When I woke up, I saw a message from Grace on my phone. "Stay strong. When everything seems lost, sometimes that's when everything starts to change." And suddenly I knew life was about to turn upside down. But this time, it would be because of me. Saturday dawned cold. I smelled burnt bread in the kitchen, and when I went downstairs, found Travis slamming dishes in the sink, muttering. Jacob paced back and forth, phone in hand, laughing at a video, while Lily watched TV with her headphones on, oblivious to the world. The atmosphere was like a powder keg. I was no longer invisible. Now, I was the declared enemy. I spent the morning sorting through old papers, searching for documents to prove I owned the house. As I rummaged, I remembered my old school friend Ethan, who'd become a lawyer years ago. He'd always told me not to trust too much, even in family. I grabbed the phone, my hands shaking, took a deep breath, called. "Marion?" What a nice surprise. He heard the tiredness in my voice. "Ethan, I need help. I can't stand being treated like a burden anymore. I feel like they're taking everything from me." "Tell me what happened," he said, his calm voice soothing me. "I have nowhere else to go. My son talks about selling my things, keeps saying I'm only here because of my pension. He wants the house for himself, Ethan." "Marion, it's not just your house. It's your life, your story. If you want, I'll stop by on Monday so we can talk. Just between us, okay? I promise." I hung up feeling something I hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. That afternoon, I tried to talk to Lily. I found her sitting on the porch, staring at the backyard, her gaze lost. I sat beside her in silence. "You know, Grandma, sometimes I wish everything could go back to how it was," she whispered. "Me too, Lily, but all we have is now to build something new." She rested her head on my shoulder and cried softly. Jacob showed up, mocked us, but for the first time, I noticed a hint of discomfort in his eyes. Something was changing. At dinner, I made my vegetable soup. Travis turned up his nose, but didn't complain. The table was quiet. Nobody wanted to talk. For the first time in weeks, I felt that silence was my victory, because I was there, strong, taking up my space. After dinner, I went to the living room and sat in my armchair. I took out the family photo album. I ran my fingers over the old pictures, parties, Christmases, faces that once smiled at me. If you've ever fought to keep what's yours, leave a comment and share. Your story might give someone else strength. The phone rang. It was Ethan. "Marion, I got some contacts. I'll be there early Monday. You can trust me." I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. My heart beat strong. I went to sleep with a new feeling. When you discover your worth, no one can erase you anymore. Monday dawned clear, cold, and strangely quiet. I had barely slept from anxiety. At 9 a.m. sharp, Ethan arrived, carrying a thick folder of documents and the look of someone who saw not just a client, but an old friend who deserved respect. He entered politely but with confidence, asking to talk to me alone on the porch. Travis pretended not to care, but I saw the nervousness in his eyes. Jacob didn't even show up, locked in his room with headphones on, and Lily quietly slipped out for a walk around the block. Ethan got straight to the point. "Marion, your son can't just kick you out or use your retirement as if it's his allowance. You have rights." My chest tightened. "Do you know what's worse, Ethan? It's not just the money. It's feeling like I lost all respect, like I've become a piece of furniture in my own home." He nodded. "I understand, Marion, and that's exactly why I'm here. I want you to tell me everything, from the beginning." For 2 hours, I told him every detail. The temporary move-in, the request to sell my car, the parties, the humiliations, even the veiled threats. Ethan listened, took notes, asked about old receipts, documents, whose name the house was in, until he discovered everything was properly in my name, including a small inheritance I had almost forgotten, a modest house in the countryside left by my brother, with a valid deed and still little valued. "Marion, this could be your ticket to freedom," he said, showing me a copy of the deed. "You can sell, rent, or even use it to start a new life if you want. And your son can't touch any of it without your permission." Suddenly, Travis appeared at the door, tense. "What are you two talking about out here?" "Just handling a few things, son," I answered, with a calm I hadn't felt in months. Jacob, curious, showed up behind him, squinting when he saw Ethan. "Grandma, is this guy a lawyer?" I didn't answer. I felt the power of a strong silence. Ethan said goodbye, promising to return soon with detailed guidance. Before leaving, he pulled me aside. "Don't accept emotional blackmail anymore, Marion. Someone who's lived as much as you deserves to choose how to live the rest. Stay strong." After Ethan left, Travis came to question me, agitated. "Mom, what was that all about? Are you really bringing a lawyer into this now? This is all just a misunderstanding. You're overreacting." I looked him in the eye for the first time in a long while. "No, Travis, I just want my right to exist, to be respected. From now on, I won't ask permission to be who I am." He muttered something, slamming his door and heading to his room. Jacob grumbled, "Grandma, why all this? You're just going to make things worse." I felt anger, sadness, and fear, but above all, a new strength, a 74-year-old woman who wasn't going to bow anymore. That night, I sat at the table, made my tea, and instead of crying, I called Grace and asked if we could talk. "If you need me, I'll stand by your side," she said. "Thank you, dear. You have no idea how much that means to me." In that silence, I heard my own heart saying, "From now on, no one else will decide my future for me." The last night before my decision was sleepless, not with empty restlessness, but with a silence full of possibility. I could almost smell the coffee I would make at dawn, hear the creak of the old gate outside, and I breathed deeply, fully aware that from this day on, I would not allow myself to be pushed into the shadows of my own life. The sky slowly brightened, painted pink and gold, and I was already up, setting the table like always. But something had changed. The table seemed bigger, maybe because for the first time in a long while, my heart wasn't shrunk by fear. I called Travis. He came in wary, eyes heavy with sleepless nights and the weight of his own choices. Jacob and Lily appeared soon after, drawn by the tension in the air, but looking down, almost expecting the worst. I sat down, looked at my son, and spoke without a tremor in my voice. "Travis, this isn't a request or a complaint. It's a decision. I know life's been hard for all of us, but my house, my story, my dignity, none of that is up for negotiation. For too long, I erased myself just to not lose you, but I lost myself in the process, and I won't allow that anymore." He tried to argue, but I raised my hand to stop him. I continued, "You have 6 months. I've rented the yellow house next door from Mr. Walt. I'll pay the first month's rent and give you a little help to get started, but I want you to use this time to rebuild your life, create stability, and be a real example for your children. Here, everyone will have their own space, their own boundaries. That's the only way we can truly reconnect without resentment." Travis's eyes widened, surprised. "Mom, are you kicking me out?" "No, Travis, I'm setting you free, and I'm setting myself free too." Jacob, standing behind his father, was quiet for a moment, but finally, the truth broke the silence. "I'm sorry, Grandma. I said a lot of stupid things. I don't even know why I acted that way. I guess I was just angry at the world. Lily was softly crying, squeezing my arm. I don't want to leave, Grandma. I hugged them both, feeling the weight of love and sadness mixing together, like rain and sunshine at once. You'll never lose me. We're just going to learn to respect each other again. And I want to be close, to watch you grow, but I need to take care of myself too. Deep down, Travis knew it was right. I saw it in his eyes. Behind the pride, there was still that little boy looking for comfort, even as an adult. And for the first time in months, I felt such a powerful relief that I cried right there at the breakfast table, holding my grandkids with no shame and no fear. With the inheritance from my great-uncle, which Travis so wanted to control, I decided not to buy anything for myself or save it all for the future. Instead, I took part of it, combined it with the rent I'd receive, and made a long, dormant dream come true. I created the Garden of New Beginnings, a community space for seniors and children in the neighborhood. Gardens, cooking workshops, book clubs, music classes, all free, all built by those who wanted to give and receive affection. Lily was the first to ask if she could help. She taught the older ladies how to use their phones, how to text their distant grandchildren. Jacob, at first reluctantly, started giving chess and sports classes for the kids. In the beginning, he came out of obligation. Soon, he stayed, because he enjoyed it. One afternoon, I saw Jacob sitting beside Mr. Peter, a retired math teacher, patiently teaching him chess, and I stayed quiet behind the window, grateful for the unexpected. On another, Lily and I picked basil together for the community lunch, laughing like I'd always dreamed. Little by little, Travis visited less often, but when he did, he sat at the table and talked, without the weight of complaints or resentment. He found steady work at the local garage, made friends with neighbors, and stopped complaining about everything. One autumn Saturday, he came to me with a toolbox in hand and a sincere, almost shy smile. "Thank you, Mom. If it weren't for your push, I never would have had the courage to change. And I'm sorry for everything." I pulled him into a long hug, the kind that heals what words never reach. In the months that followed, the Garden of New Beginnings grew. We got donations, expanded the kitchen, planted fruit trees. I gained friends, purpose, laughter. The respect of my grandchildren came back, shy at first, but real. Lily even wrote me a poem, and Jacob apologized for all the cruel jokes. One night, before bed, I looked around. The house was quiet, but not empty. Every corner was mine again, filled not by noise, but by the certainty that all of this only existed, because one day, I had the courage to say, enough. If you've ever felt like you were losing your own story, don't be afraid to start again. Share this story, comment what you would do in my place, and join the VIP group in the pinned comment to hear more life-changing stories. My life didn't go back to how it was before. It got better. Because now, along with respect and space, I'm sure it's never too late to bloom again. And if anyone ever tells you they only put up with you because of your retirement, remember, dignity is not for sale. It's something you earn every single day.